welcome to my video. These are going to be my thoughts on Legion, Season 3, Episode 8, Chapter 27. The episode is rated TVMA, so will this video be. And yeah, like with all the videos leading up to this one, absolutely love this episode. Spoilers for the episode and all the ones before it. Let's dive right in. Yeah, this was an amazing finale to astonishing show. Just... yeah, they actually managed to... I did not foresee how they would end this whole thing, but they resolved everything. It really was, because everything bad on this show started with David being either dangerous or at least perceived to be dangerous. You know, maybe he would be dangerous at some point in the future. You know, that's why Division was hunting him in Season 1. In Season 2, they were working with him, trying to figure out, you know, now that Farouk was out, you know, that was the danger. And, you know, now in Season 3, it's, well, David is dangerous again, you know, and, yeah, like, technically, Division, they correctly perceived David as a potential threat, but they made it so much worse by approaching him with violence. And here at the end, you know, this is not a direct quote, but war is not the solution, it is the problem. And that is, like, there's so much wisdom there, because when you look at how countries that are not dealing with war, like, I'm not saying it's 100% of the time, you know, 60% of the time it's true, the 100% of the time, but yeah, that was backwards, whatever. Been a while since I watched that, okay? Yeah. After World War II, we saw a lot of countries thrive in ways that they hadn't back when they had to fight other countries for resources and such. You know, yeah, just, and I think it was Season 1 where David said, grow up, in response to them saying, no, we can't resolve this, or we have to fight, something like that, you know, just, yeah, the idea of as long as David has a happy childhood, you know, and I suppose technically we don't know for sure that it won't go bad, but that's life sometimes, you know, you can't be 100% sure, but certainly it won't be anywhere near as bad, because Farouk has agreed not to go into David's mind, and Charles will be watching David and taking care of him as a father, so no one else will be able to go into his mind either. You know, at least according to this show, I forget if it's true in the comics, but it seems like Farouk really is, like, other than Charles, there aren't really any other telepaths out there who are anywhere near as powerful, or if they are, they're not evil. Something along those lines, you know. At least at this point in the timeline, maybe later, once David is an adult, at which point he can fend for himself. But the problem, as far as I can tell, was not that he was raised in foster homes and such. It was that he was not loved, and that is a problem that, you know, the foster care system does need to address still, you know. So yeah, now he has his mom, he has his dad, they love him. Farouk is never going to go into his mind. Yeah, and I love that the show acknowledges, yes, sometimes there are people out there who do something evil and it has repercussions for many years, like decades, you know, and they have to be prevented, if at all possible, from doing the bad thing. But ideally, you should use empathy and understanding rather than force. You know, David did try to stop Farouk with force. It failed spectacularly, and, you know, yeah, so really, really love that. And it is, again, this thing of, like, Farouk comes to, you know, he confronts his younger self, and he notes, was I really this bitter? And that is something, you know, I think it's important that we think back on how we were, you know, years ago, how we were when we were younger, and like, ideally you don't end up like hating your younger self, but certainly try to learn from it, try to be better if you didn't think that you were, perfect back then. And if you do think you were perfect back then, really think about it. Is there absolutely nothing that could be, because there's, I like to think of life as just always trying to better ourselves. And let's see, yes. Once the younger Farouk is shown all the pain he causes for David, he thanks the elder Farouk, and says, I'm not going to do that. That is not, I will not be such an evil. Let's see. I love that Switch, those were her baby teeth, which is such a great, because it completely recontextualizes. In the very first episode of this season, we saw her lose a tooth. And it was like, oh, wow, it's really taking a toll. And now we see, no, it was a growing process. She just had, and her father is actually loving, but he couldn't touch her directly because he doesn't exist in the physical plane anymore, only the astral plane, I think it was. And that's when he was just hyper-focused on, are you keeping up with your studies? I'm a little torn on whether that means that he was hoping she would come out and say, Dad, how can I study? I'm a time traveler. There are things that are more important. And he would have been like, thank you, you understand. Now I'll guide you. Or if he was like, maybe it was like reverse psychology. Like, it was like, well, if she thinks all I care about is her studies, she's definitely going to focus on this other thing. But yeah, that was just such a great, and seeing his warm smile, it's so great. And this thing, we have many names as, four-dimensional beings. I would like to call you daughter, and you may call me father. Just so sweet. Just such a, because that was such a big part of what she wanted and needed from him, was for just, the love and acceptance. The relationship they used to have felt less like father-daughter and more like boss-employee or something, And apparently, if you use a whistle, you can tell the creatures, the blue meanies, sit and stay. So I guess they're not time cats, they're time dogs. Yeah, interesting. And I guess that segues very nicely into, this was some of the best action that Carrie with a K got the entire run of the show. I gotta say, I gotta see Amber Mithunder in more stuff. She's so great in this and Prey. Just, drop me a recommendation if you know something else where she's really great. Whether acting or action or both, just, she's so good. Let's see, but swinging the sword. At one point she's got the two shorter swords, and no glory like the glory of a final battle, and she really does keep, if not for her fighting and Sid's shooting, the Time Cats would have killed baby David before adult David was able to resolve the conflict with the Farouks. And that was also, I love the part where David is singing and then it becomes a duet with Gabrielle, and she's singing, as she's sitting there cradling baby David, and Sid is staying there, and she's completely still. She's firing the shotgun, and it's in the middle of that, and no movement at all. That was a great little, let's see. When Switch did walk in, and she was like, Gabrielle Xavier, Sydney Barrett, and the rest. What are the louder milks? Chopped liver, chopped milk gone sour. But this thing, you will have a life, and you have another chance. And I really do appreciate and nothing of value is ever truly lost. Absolutely love that. Let's see, but yeah, a new life is a new opportunity. It is not, this. It is not a loss. And I do appreciate, there at the end, like, David still doesn't completely forgive him, but she is hopeful that he will be better. She doesn't take the bait when he's like, you'll turn out amazing without me. She doesn't say, no, don't be so hard on yourself, because he did rape her, and, it's not really, yeah. I do appreciate that here by the end, she still doesn't come out and say she's forgiven him, just that there's, with him being loved, it's likely won't happen again. And I think that pretty much... I love seeing Charles so vulnerable with Gabrielle. Like, it was just like when they first met, and not really like after David was born, where he was more like stiff upper lip, constantly kind of chilly, distant. But, they point out, we've seen some silly things, and they both chuckle and smile. Just, yeah, I genuinely feel like David's going to have a really good chance at a good life now. Certainly of loving childhood. I feel like there's something... Oh, right, I have the thing, old man. I don't think you can call me that anymore. What should I call you? How about brother? So sweet. I guess that segues very nicely into, I feel like every major character went through growth. Like, everyone we spent enough time with. I'm not sure... I'm afraid I forget the name, but the guy with the... what are those called again? The thing on his head that was in charge of the computer in the second season. I'm not sure I would say he went through a lot of growth, but we also only spent a single season with him. But, David went from, very, very gentle to doing something evil, and accepting that, it really was love that was the solution, as he realized very early on. Sid, started out fairly cynical, and here at the end accepts that love is the answer. Carrie with K became more openly tender and gentle with Carrie with a K, which is in part because Carrie with a K let her have a more full life once they were living, once they were no longer in the same body all the time. He was trying to protect her, but ultimately, that's again something we cishet men have to learn. We cannot constantly be protecting the girls and women we care about. They have to get a chance to live their lives. Like, obviously, if they're communicating, this is, I want you to protect me, we stand up to the plate. But, it can become suffocating to constantly be trying to protect, and have the opposite effect. Let's see, what does that... Right, Lenny, for a very long time was just living off pleasure and a very chaotic being, and then here near the end, she's trying to help David with the cult, and, ends up not able to handle the pain of losing her daughter. I feel like that... who does that leave? I'm not 100% certain about Ptolemy, but maybe there wasn't quite enough time. I don't know. Did he maybe loosen up late towards, the last parts of his, not long after the character died and went into the computer? Let's see. Oliver. No, yeah, he became more devoted towards Melanie, and that's how she ended up much happier. For a long time, she was driven by getting him back, then she loses him again, but once she has him back again, she's in a much better place. I feel like there's some other... I guess that is the main and major. I guess David's sister, early on thinks of him as just this fragile thing. She cares about him, but, later comes to accept there's more to him than that. I think that covers everyone, every major and main character. Oh, right, yeah. I still don't remember his name, but Hamish Linklater's character, early on, very paranoid, very hostile towards David, and over the course of it, he also comes to really loosen up. I think that is... I appreciate this thing of, division. It's not that government is inherently evil, it's that you need the right people influencing government. You need people with empathy. They were much better in, from the start of season 2 when they're working with the mutant characters that they were fighting and hunting in season 1. I think that covers... so many wonderful visuals and sounds and choices of music and dance sequences and such over the course of the show. I loved the fighting between the Xaviers. Actually, was it only here at the end that we actually got the name drop of Charles Xavier? I maybe they did say it in an earlier episode, but certainly here, I forget if they said Charles Xavier, but they said Gabrielle Xavier, so it stands to reason that that's her married name, not her maiden name, and Charles is Charles Xavier. But love the psychic, the bullet that does psychic damage, and he pulls out, and he's managed to turn it into that cloth thing. It's like a clown would pull out of an endless, and David making one of those maces with a chain is so cool. And at first he pulls out a fish. Wow. And I think... Right, did I mention the bit where she just loses all of her teeth at once? That's one of the most disturbing things I've ever seen, and I really love that they managed to subvert that and say, no, it's a good thing. It's her, fully embracing her powers. She was always meant to go this far. And like sometimes coming of age, there's some pain along the way, and you feel like, oh, this is the wrong thing because it hurts, but at the end of the day, that's, the trick is determining if the pain means turn around or if it means this is something I have to go through. Once they were, fighting, the thing with, I guess that makes me your dance partner, and, the bit with Legion all attacking him all at once, and trying to hold down Farouk, and he throws them off, and for a second I'm like, please don't fly away, and show that the entire fight was completely pointless, and thankfully it doesn't happen. And then he, we only see it afterwards, but he turns himself into a straitjacket for David, which is of course in part, traumatized, he was traumatized by being in the mental institution, and it also, makes him feel powerless. And thus Farouk is able to say these horrible things to him, and then David performs the song, and we see Legion dancing, and it's this very clear demonstration of the pain and anger that they feel, translated into dance moves. And I was also just I'm gonna miss a lot about this show, but Legion coming out of those doors one by, I think they played there was just enough of that it didn't feel like, because it's such a cool idea, you got to do it more than once, but if you do it too many times it's like, okay, we've seen it, so let's see. And the thing, you have too little imagination, we can make anything in here, and all you can think about is war. And that is again a thing that we, war is not this brilliant thing. I'm not saying that it is never ever necessary. If somebody else starts a war, you may have to fight in that war, at least for a while, at least until you can, sometimes you can eventually make them realize this war is not good for you either. But sometimes it is necessary to fight, at least at the start. It was definitely necessary to fight the Nazis in World War II. And but yeah, beyond that, war is basically like lizard brain, ape brain kind of shit. It is not something we should be striving towards or see as some kind of goal or solution. And let's see, yeah, they have a conversation, and by the end of it, Charles is on his side. And I like it was legitimately funny, this thing, he's like, but I had him, he was gonna kill him, and Charles is like, yeah, I could tell by all the blood. And David, I'm really gonna miss the sarcastic wit of many characters on this show. David just responds, "What did you think I was gonna do? Kill him with words?"